Welcome to Painful but Possible, where we face our pain, honor our love, and remember that healing is possible. Listen, I want to stay in line with the theme of healing through our tears. And I want to give you this segment. Let's start with the psychology behind tears. Because understanding what's happening inside of your body helps remove the shame and the desperate reaches of our brain when it comes to crying. Psychologists identify three types of tears: basal tears, the ones that keep your eyes hydrated; reflex tears, the ones that come from irritants like smoke and onions; and emotional tears. Those are the ones that we're going to talk about. Emotional tears are chemically different. They contain stress, hormones, toxins, and proteins that your body's trying to release. That your body's trying to release. When you cry emotionally, your body is literally lowering your stress levels. You feel that release after you cry. You've had a good cry. You feel that calm after you had a good cry. Your tears are not random. They are a biological strategy for survival. We've got to stop suppressing our tears. And here's something powerful: emotional tears activate the parasympathetic nervous system. What is the parasympathetic nervous system, Fawn? It's the part of your body that's responsible for calming you down. We'll say that again. The parasympathetic nervous system is the part of your body that's responsible for calming you down. That's why after a deep cry, your breathing slows, your muscles loosen, and your mind feels better, feels clearer. Your tears are your body's built in therapist. I'm going to say that again. Your tears are your body's built in therapist. Now let's talk about the reasons we cry. Not the surface reasons, but the deeper ones. And we're just going to name a few here. We cry when something hurts more than we can hold. We cry when something matters more than we can explain. We cry when something inside of us is shifting, breaking, or being reborn. We'll say that again. We cry when something inside of us is shifting, breaking, or being reborn. We cry when we've held too much for too long. We cry when we finally feel safe enough to just let go. Sometimes tears come not because we're weak. Not because you're weak. And at no point are you weak because tears come. Let me reiterate that. But because we've been strong for too long. Strong. Sometimes tears come because the body says you're not carrying this alone anymore. Sometimes tears come because the soul says, I need room to breathe. And sometimes tears come because God whispers, let me take this from you. There's power in your tears. Yeah, yeah. Not just emotion, but there's transformation in your tears. Tears release what the body cannot hold. They soften the emotional armor that you've been conditioned or that you have built in survival mode. I'm going to say that again. Tears soften the emotional armor that you've either been conditioned to build or that your brain built in survival mode. Tears reconnect you to yourself. So sometimes we don't feel like ourselves simply, hear me, simply because we just won't release. We don't know how to release. We've been conditioned to be strong for so long that releasing feels dangerous. We've had trust issues and emotional betrayals so often and so deeply that releasing feels dangerous. Tears signal to your nervous system in a lot of cases that danger has passed. For those that are going to say, well, sometimes I cry when I'm mad. Here it is. Tears open the door to clarity, forgiveness, and acceptance. Tears open the door to clarity, forgiveness, and acceptance. So, to the ones that immediately said, well, sometimes I cry when I'm angry. Right. So, here's the explanation behind that. At the point that you're so angry that you cry, you are now faced with the opportunity to look at the situation with clarity, forgiveness, and acceptance. Notice I didn't say walk in. I realize that there are some points I used to as a kid when I would get really mad and I was ready to fight, I would cry. And I didn't understand why I would cry, and that would be the tipping point for me to be ready to fight. But now I understand that at that tipping point where I'm super emotionally charged and filled with anger, my brain says, hey, you need to calm down. And my body hears that command and says, hey, release, release. So when I release the tears, what actually is happening is my parasympathetic is trying to calm me down, nervous system wise, anxiety wise. But also, while it's calming me down, I am also being presented with the door to clarity, the door to forgiveness, and the door to acceptance. And I literally have to override clarity, override forgiveness, and override acceptance to keep going and walking in that anger. Tears are a reset button. Tears are truth tellers. They're message bringers. Tears are the body's way of saying, I'm overwhelmed, but I'm still here. And here's the part we don't talk about enough. Tears are a form of communication. Even when you cry alone, your body is communicating with you, trying to bring your attention to what hurts, what matters, what needs attention. Don't forget this one. What needs release? Your tears are not the problem. Stop apologizing. Your tears are a message that's calling for your attention.